Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why things like overload work, lockout work with heavy partials, and these things don't really work for carryover to your movements. And some of it has to do with the fact that it's a problem with joint angle specificity on your big lifts. The other part of the problem is that it causes less muscle growth. Right? And hypertrophy is the number one factor in increasing your strength for you as an individual. Now, before people say, well, what about leverages? Yeah, but you're not getting your bones and tendons recut and reattached and stuff. So unless you're doing that surgically, that's not an option. Therefore, I want to be clear there. Therefore, for you as an individual, since you can't change your muscle fiber distribution, you can't change your bone lengths or your points of insertion for your tendons. The only factor you have control over is your muscle mass, right? Your actual tissue growth. That is what you can control. Again, I want to be clear there. And in other people who have completely different strengths, it's different or similar sizes or whatever, it's nothing to do with the fact that size doesn't equal strength. It's those other factors, and you can't change those. So we need to be very clear in that. Hypertrophy is the best thing you can do to get stronger. Behind that would be, heavy singles, weak point training, but weak point training is just hypertrophy again. So let's come over though and let's talk about the problem with partials. We know that even when it's studied in a lab, partial reps only make you really stronger at the partials. They do not give us as full a carryover to the full range of motion as training full range of motion does. So if we think of the specificity involved, so you're talking about the neural drive changes, the changes in movement pattern technique, and then we come over to the point of hypertrophying maybe muscle fibers specific to those ranges of motion. Okay. All right. So when you look at that, most of the time, and there's been an exception here or there, that's what you find. In the lab, training full range of motion makes you stronger at full range of motion, and training partials makes you more strong at partials. But in some of the studies, the full range of motion training actually increased the partials more than the partials did. It does happen on occasion, which would make sense. More muscle mass, more strength potential. But the thing is, people are like, well, I'm doing this to blast through a sticking point or to handle more weight. And we need to address both of those. And it doesn't matter that some people have made this work, by the way. You're usually talking equipped lifters, and they still did full range of motion training. They still got bigger, and most of them used a ton of gear, so they gained muscle anyways. All right, at a certain point, tension is tension when drugs are in the equation. So just factor that in before you say, but these guys over here at this gym who are all using 2 grams of gear a week, of course they got strong doing partials. They would have got strong doing full range of motion too. All right. But I digress. All right, the problem with the weak point training. If you can do 315 for a pause off your chest and you can do 405 for lockout work, but you stick in the middle, but then when you go to that point, like let's say you come over and you're doing board work or pen work at the point where you miss the lift with a 315, but you can do it with 405. You're already strong enough to lift 405 through there. It's not doing anything. It's not helping you. People say, but that's where I'm weakest. That's where the bar is slowing down. It's not where you're weakest. You're weakest. Let me get this straight. You're weakest at the most biomechanical disadvantaged part of the lift. On a bench, that's where when the bar touches your chest, by the way. In a squat, that's when you're at the bottom, so on and so forth. That is where you're weakest. That is not subject to debate. That is basic human biomechanics. The reason you're slowing down is because you're using all your energy up at the weakest point. Right? So when you're lifting that heavy weight, you don't have anything left through those weak points. You don't have anything left. Therefore, it slows down or you miss there. When you're starting from that point, you can handle the heavier weight. And if you can handle the heavier weight, the exception to this is, of course, deadlifts, right? A lot of people are weaker on some of the slight partials. Now there you might actually have a neuromuscular benefit, okay? That's the only one that can kind of make sense. Like a below the knee rack pull, like a 2-inch block pull. Because there is a neural difference there. And it might help you slightly to train through there. But it's going to be ever slight. But the deadlift is already very much a partial lift, so there's a lot going on with the partials. These other longer range of motion lifts are not. They're very muscle reliant. When we come over to that point, you're already strong enough to do that weight through there. You've got to get stronger through the weakest point. Now, in some cases, could it be that maybe your delts are a little strong or a little weak? Or there could be a case where the bar is transitioning badly. Let's say you have weak triceps, and so as the bar transitions, you hit a certain weak point up near the middle or the top third of the lift. Your triceps are too weak and the bar drifts really far over your face. Your delts have to take over to try to compensate, which is also hard on the shoulders. Well, in that case, it's not necessarily the lockout work that's going to help you. You need more tricep work. You need to do some hypertrophy work for your triceps. Do you see where we're going with this? You'll be better off for it. But you need to get stronger out of the bottom, really. You really do. And that means more pause benching, more pecs, most likely. Maybe you need more lats to help stabilize everything better. But it's generally you just need to get bigger and stronger. All right, same thing with holding the heavy weight. I need this to get used to it. But if you can do partials with that weight, then you're already able to handle it in your hands. Number 2, has that ever been required? Every one of us have gone months without doing a max at some point in our lives and walked in and smashed a 1 rep max PR on a squat, a bench, a deadlift with a weight that we have never touched in our life. And we did it just fine. Okay, that's nonsense. That is complete and utter nonsense that you need to get used to feeling the heavier weight on your back or holding it in your hands. In what world? No, you need to get stronger. You are wasting recovery resources, wasting time, wasting energy, trying to get used to holding the heavier weight that you could be spending putting on some muscle and actually get stronger. It has never been a requirement. People have walked in and smashed world records lifting weights 50 pounds heavier than they have ever touched in their life. You don't have to get used to anything. If you're strong enough to lift it, you are strong enough to lift it. Period. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.